I recently discovered this article here that was written by G.F. Griffiths in 1968 for the Radio Constructor, which I think was some sort of overseas publication, and someone had pointed me to this article here online at a forum where I've been having a discussion about how do you view harmonics with an oscilloscope, and there's not really any great way to do it with an oscilloscope. You really kind of need a spectrum analyzer. But anyways, this article here shows a neat little circuit that you can make to look at harmonics on the oscilloscope. So what it is, it's basically a 6.3 volt heater transformer, and since I live here in the United States, this would be 120 VAC, 60 hertz, and you feed the audio oscillator into here. There's a pot to adjust the signal level. It could be from 5K to 50K, and then you would connect your scope probes here, and then you would see various waveforms when you feed it a 100 hertz or 120 hertz signal. He was talking about 50 hertz in this article, but it would be 120 hertz here in the United States, and you'd either see this where you have 10% second harmonic, or you could have a second harmonic with a different phase relationship. Then you can go up to 180 hertz and you would have this third harmonic, and then you could have a third harmonic with a different phase relationship, and then you can add a fourth harmonic and you get this kind of waveform, and so on. And then later on in the article tells you how you can test a tube amp, where to look, what distortion looks like. That's obvious to me because I build things intentionally to distort. And it shows like some things like various kinds of noise you can have on your signal and so on. So I made a quick sketch. You can kind of see my board drafting background come out here. I just made a quick sketch of this and drew the schematic, put some notes on here, and I envisioned kind of what this would look like. Just a generic, put it in a box. Here's your jacks, power switch, transformer, etc. And so I went ahead and made some graphics or something that I'm going to reuse, and that's going to be this old looper pedal that I haven't used in like 10 or 12 years. I'm going to gut it, and all these new points of connection and stuff are going to be over here on this side. The new graphics will cover up the holes here, and I've got a power cord and a 6 volt. This is a 6 volt, 6 volt transformer. That'd be perfect for my purposes here. And I got a BNC jack, so I can just connect that straight to the scope. I've got I think it's like a 2 or 3 watt 30K pot, and then I got a couple of jacks where I can insert my multimeter to measure the voltage. And so we're just going to go ahead and throw all this stuff in the box, and then we'll be at the point where we can actually do this test, and I can learn to see what different harmonics look like on a signal, and maybe when I'm probing around in a signal in the future, I might be able to detect, oh, there's definitely strong third order harmonics going on here, or oh, interesting, I got second order harmonics, which I wouldn't expect to find in a solid state distortion device. But the point is, I think it's a good tool to maybe help learn how to see different kinds of harmonic distortion on a scope, and if nothing else, it'll be a fun experiment, and I get to reuse some stuff that's just sitting around not being used. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and start putting this thing together. Alright, so here we are about after 3 hours of effort Took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to, because part of the gutting process had to get rid of all the shielding off the inside of this enclosure and stuff. But here's essentially what it looks like. I got all my little waveforms on here just to help me remember which one looks like what. And I got all these things labeled as to what they are, of course. And here's the layout of the jacks and controls and switches. And here's the inside. This stuff's pretty packed in here. But we were able to get the power switch and the pot and the signal in, and these jacks to measure the output voltage, which in hindsight I don't really need, but looking down the road I could potentially use this as a 6.3 volt AC source for temporary power for a project, so I guess it's not all in vain. And then here's my BNC jack to connect to the scope, and we just use the old power cord. I think it's maybe it's either like an old extension cord that I used for something else and then put in a drawer, or maybe it came off a lamp that died or something, I don't remember. Here's my transformer. I'm using one side of it, so it'll be like 6 volts at 225 milliamps of current, so this pot should be able to handle that. And I don't need to really fasten this in here, because once this bottom cover is on, that guy ain't going nowhere. Of course, the one ugly left over is these holes, but not really too worried about it. The main thing is I just wanted to have this in a safe enclosure, so I don't have to worry about shocking myself. Which, by the way, I also have this neon lamp here, so when the power comes on, that turns on. I know that we have power. So there's the built circuit and boxed up. So next we're going to inject our signal from the oscilloscope into here and look at the waveforms on the scope. Alright, so here we have everything hooked up, the power's on, and we have our signal coming in from our function generator here, and then we have this teed off going to my DSO shell, so I can see the specific frequency, and then the scope out jack here goes over to the oscilloscope, and as you can see here, we're superimposing 120 hertz signal over the 60 hertz cycle of the secondary of the transformer. But I'm having trouble getting the second harmonic to show up really great. This isn't a super precise function generator, so you can see at the top of the waveform there, at the bottom of the waveform, you get that double hump kind of thing. Right there. So that is your second harmonic, twice the main's frequency. Then if we go up to 180 hertz, 3 times the main's frequency, we get a third harmonic, which, if I can get exactly 180 hertz, looks like that. I probably should be doing this on my Tektronix scope that's got more options as far as sensitivity and time. But see right there, you can see that's the third harmonic right there. And then if you go up to 240 hertz, you get the fourth harmonic, which has a distinctive looking waveform. You get something that looks like that. right there. So that's kind of cool. And then of course we go down to here and we get our fundamental waveform 60 Hertz. So that's pretty neat. Actually, this was educational. It was worth building this thing. And the one quirky thing though is that for maybe it's just my oscilloscope sensitivity or something, but for these waveforms to show up on my oscilloscope, I really have to have like a 2-volt output. So here we go. Once we adjust this to where we get some action here, this goes up to 2 volts. And it's supposed to be 0.6, so you get about 10% harmonic distortion. But the exercise here was just to see, you know, the second, third, fourth harmonics in action, what they look like on the scope. And so I think it was worthwhile to do this little exercise. It's kind of fun. I learned a few things from it, so just putting it out there for anyone who might be interested in seeing this. And maybe you've run across this article online before and you wondered what it would be like in the real world. Well, here you go.